Hi, I'm Lippincott, and this is Rhythm is Everything Part 2. If you haven't checked out Part 1 yet, go back and check that one out. And we got into some of the basics of rhythms, and we talked about the different places in the measure of 4/4 time where the eighth notes happen, what each one kind of feels like and sounds like, and then also little getting in depth with eighth note triplets. Today we're going to start talking about grouping these eighth note triplets in groups of 2, which is otherwise known as quarter note triplets. And now I'll explain that. If you look at the example I have written out here, I have a measure of eighth note triplets written out, triplet, 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 but there's accents on the first triplet of beat 1 and the third triplet of beat 1. And there's also an accent on the second triplet of beat 2. Now notice that I'm tapping on my leg, and in my case I'm left-handed, so I'm starting with my left hand. My left hand gets every single one of those accents. First triplet, second triplet, third triplet, and then beat 2, first triplet, second triplet, third triplet. So all those accents go on my leading hand, in my case my left hand. So it would be something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I leave out the unaccented notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you still hear those imaginary eighth note triplets still going on? Then that means that you're hearing and feeling really accurate quarter note triplets. You're subdividing them into eighth note triplets. Okay, so let's turn on our metronome now and do that a little bit. Again, my metronome is at 80 beats per minute, and I've got the click set that I'm hearing where the downbeat is of every measure. 2, 3, 4. So I'll get my eighth note triplets started. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my accents on my leading hand. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to move the accents over to clapping my hands, just where these accents go. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But again, my goal is to still hear in my head 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So I'm hearing those not just as the way they're typically written as, you know, 3 notes with a bracket of 3, and we're just thinking, okay, they're 3 evenly spaced triplet, 3 evenly spaced notes in the space of 2 beats, yeah, and just hope that you get it right. We're actually subdividing into eighth note triplets and making sure they're really accurate. Dut, 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 dut. Okay, now let's try playing them. Just going to play maybe on the note D again. 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now we're going to move over to playing with a backing track and doing some improvising. Just like in part 1, I'm using just a D Dorian backing track with quarter note equals 110, like a nice medium swing feel. Quarter note triplets, and so short notes. Now I'll make them long. Improvise a little bit with the notes. Did you hear that same effect? effect that we talked about in class 1, where you come out of an unusual rhythm into something you were expecting and it feels like the tension gets resolved. So I was getting some more interesting sort of a third layer of rhythmic information on top of the basic groove and the quarternote triplets by varying where I put long and short notes. Maybe I did something like da 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 da, or I could do every other triplet short da 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 da, or maybe every fourth triplet da 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 da, and that gives me a totally different rhythm kind of overlaid over the other two. Now I'll do the same thing with chords. Toward the end, I was arpeggiating some of the chords and letting the notes ring out for a different texture. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to talk about is quarternote triplets that are displaced. Now what I mean by that is going back to our idea of eighth note triplets being tapped out on my lap, triplet, 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 triplet. For quarternote triplets, I was putting my accent on my leading hand, or my left hand in my case. Triplet, 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 triplet. So there were 6 hits in the measure on the accented hand and 6 hits on the unaccented hand. What if I switched places? What if I put the accents on my right hand but still kept this as my leading hand? That would sound something like this. Triplet, 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 triplet. And if we look at that written in the example, we see again the measure of eighth note triplets written out, and now the accents have all been shifted over by one triplet. Notice something interesting that happens is with the regular eighth note triplets, the first beat had an accent on the first and third triplet, and the second beat had an accent only on the second triplet. Now the tables are turned. It's exactly the opposite. The first beat looks like the second beat did, and the second beat looks like the first beat did. The second beat has only the accent on the second triplet. Second beat has accents on 1 and 3. And in both cases, we have one of each, right? We have one first triplet, one third triplet, one second triplet. And it's kind of in that order, no matter where you start. If you start on 1, next is 3, next is 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. Never varies, no matter where you start in this cycle. Okay, so now let's deal with how these displaced triplets might sound if we played them in time. So I'm going to put my metronome back on 80 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to put the accents on my right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I moved to clapping the rhythm, and again, still trying to hear all the subdivisions in my head. Now, when I first became aware of this rhythm, I thought it was some kind of, esoteric modern jazz rhythm that only really advanced drummers and, people that were really into odd meters and metric modulations, all those people knew about this rhythm and nobody else ever used it. Then once I started getting to know it a little bit better, I started noticing I was hearing it all over the place, not just in jazz, but sometimes even in pop music as well. If you've ever heard this old Michael Jackson tune, that little figure, those are Displaced Quarternote triplets. Even the Beatles, believe it or not, on the album Revolver, the song I'm Only Sleeping, at the end of the song you hear this E minor chord being played by the acoustic guitar, and it's got this kind of shuffle feel, and it goes into this rhythm. That's that same displaced triplet rhythm. You'll also see how I have it written. There isn't really a traditional, standard, simple way of writing out this rhythm. You have to get convoluted. But it looks like I've got a set of quarter note triplets in the middle of the measure that start on beat 2, and then I'm splitting the notes up in weird ways. Like beat 1 has 3 eighth note triplets with a rest on the first triplet, and then the first 2 tied together. And then beat 4 is just written as 2 eighth notes with the second eighth note tied over into the next beat. And of course, we're imagining those as swing eighth notes, so to be like the third triplet of beat 4 is where that last accent in the measure falls. But anyway, now let's get to know what playing this rhythm sounds like a little bit. First, before we do that, I want to talk about a couple of different ways to conceptualize this. If you're having any trouble getting started with this rhythm, as I did when I was first starting out, the most obvious thing is we're saying, okay, they're displaced, so you're starting on the second triplet of beat 1. That was a little bit weird for me to have to think of the cycle starting there. One advice that I heard from somebody was to start on beat 2. In other words, think of regular triplets that start on the downbeat of beat 2, because that's where that first triplet hit, the first triplet hit is. So I might do something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The danger of that, and this is what confused me trying to do this, is that I would immediately start feeling beat 2 as if it was beat 1 and get turned around and think, all of a sudden I'd feel like that was beat 1. What I finally hit on is I realized that and of 4, at the very end of the measure, that third triplet of beat 4, because that is such a strongly jazz-centric kind of sound, of sounding like we're anticipating the next downbeat, I was really used to hearing where that goes, and since that's one of where those accents goes in displaced triplets, I found that was sort of my Rosetta Stone to decoding getting the feel for these. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start as an anticipated and of 4, or third triplet of beat 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Move very clapping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now I'm going to again go back to my backing track, speed things up a little bit, and see if I can play that rhythm simple at first and then gradually make it more complex. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hear that anticipation of beat 1? So if you're doing this right, there's actually nothing happening right on beat 1. 2, 3, 4. Play some long ones. Some chords. Resolution of the tension. Now I'm going to practice going back and forth between regular quarter note triplets and displaced quarter note triplets. So I'm going to start with a bar of quarter note triplets. Triplet, 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 triplet. So notice that my last hit was on the second triplet of beat 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. I'm immediately going to put the next accent on the third triplet of beat 4. Triplet, 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 triplet. And then I'm going to start the cycle of displaced triplets from that one. Triplet, 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 triplet. And then finally, beat 4 of that cycle, normally I would have one more hit on the third triplet of beat 4. I'm going to leave that one off. So, starting with the metronome, let's hear what that would sound like in time. Here's my measure of regular quarter note triplets. 3, 4. And then switching over. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, now finally I'm going to put on my backing track and I'm going to practice kind of going back and forth between these two, but this time I'm going to be a little bit more free with it. I'm going to not restrict myself to just playing, okay, now I'm playing quarter note triplets, now I'm playing displaced quarter note triplets. I'll put in some other stuff, improvise a little bit in between. So that's going to do it for part 2 of this class. Now I hope you'll join me in part 3 when we're going to get into dissecting half note triplets.